Let's go to Alexandra in Sioux Falls in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. What's up, Alexandra?
Nothing much. How are you doing, Dr. John?
Good. Y'all having fun?
It's like 50-some degrees here today, so,
Whoa.
Maybe not quite as much fun as I had hoped we'd have.
That's like the depths of winter here in Nashville. Very cool. So what's up?
All right, can I jump right in with my question?
Let's do it.
Okay. So I typed it out so I wouldn't get too tongue-tied.
Perfect.
I'll go ahead. How do I connect with my father, who I'm starting to resent? A little bit of backstory. So my dad has drug-induced schizophrenia.
Oh.
He's had it since he was in his 20s. And he had my sister and I when he was 28 and 29. My parents divorced shortly after that, and he went to jail for a little while. I was 6 months old, and my sister was a year and a half. Growing up, my dad lived with my great-grandmother, and we would go see him at her house. During this time, he cycled every 3 to 5 years. So when this would happen, we would go a little while without seeing him, and we were told that he was ill, not really explaining anything else. And then once he was doing better, we'd go back and see him like nothing happened. I was about 16 when somebody finally explained it to me, that it was a mental illness, and explained to me a little bit about what schizophrenia was and why we were allowed around him at that time. And so at 19, he went off of his medication, so he cycled. And at that point, I guess my family had kind of decided that my sister and I were old enough to figure it out by ourselves. And with literally no guidance at all, we were able to help him get checked into the ER, because at 19, I have no idea how to handle a mental illness at all. And so we went to the ER because that was what I guess we were supposed to do. And so we got him a psych eval, and then got him put into a behavioral health unit.
Sure.
Where they got him back on his medication, and he got out a couple days later, and we went and got him, brought him back to my grandmother's house. And that's kind of how it's been ever since then. We moved him up to Sioux Falls. He used to live in Iowa. We moved him up to Sioux Falls because we thought maybe him being closer to us and like seeing us more would be helpful to him. But he's actually started to cycle now every couple months, every 2 to 3 months. So he goes off of his medication for 2 to 3 months, and he hides it super well. He doesn't talk about it very often, and he hates whenever we bring it up. And so usually we just try not to. And then we notice things. We start getting text messages about needing to run and hide and how people are after him. And then it takes us about a month or so to convince him to go back to behavioral health, get him checked in, try to get him back on track. There is a program here that you go to right after that, right after being in the hospital, and he never stays on it. And so he's good for about 2 to 3 months, and then we just start over again.
Okay. Listen. I'm hoping somebody's told you everything I'm about to tell you, okay? Is that cool?
Yeah.
This isn't the way this is supposed to be. And when you were born, you deserved a dad who was fully present with you, who held you like the princess you were because you were his baby girl, and who dedicated his life to making sure your life was good. And you deserved a dad who was going to hold you, and every day, despite your protests, tell you that you were beautiful and that he loved you. And despite your protest, he was going to look you in the eye and say, I'm so glad that of all the crazy people in the world, God picked me to be your dad. That's how it's supposed to be. And I'm sorry that you didn't get that. But I need you to hear this direct. The dad you missed growing up was not your fault. The dad you missed growing up was because he was sick, not you. And you have spent a long, long time trying to bridge that gap to a relationship back to him, because your little 6-month-old and 7-year-old and 12-year-old and 19-year-old body is trying to tell you somehow this is your fault. If you would just fill in the blank, move him closer, pay closer attention to his meds. Maybe he moves in. All of this language that cycles through your head over and over is that somehow you need to be doing something different and then dad can be okay. And that's not true.
Goodness. Okay.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
Okay, I want you to do me a huge favor. I want you to take as deep a breath as you possibly can and hold it. 3, 2, let it out, and I want you to drop your shoulders all the way down. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I could feel them creeping up to your ears. Okay? Schizophrenia is the devil because it takes the people that we love away from us. And they're there in body, and they look at us, and you've been with your dad when he's off his meds, when he's off cycle. And he's looking right at you, but he doesn't see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
The absolute worst.
Yeah. The temptation.
So where do we go from here?
You're not going to like what I have to say, okay? And I want you to know, if you hang up this phone and you say that guy sucks, I'm totally okay with that, okay? My promise is I'm just never going to not tell you the truth, okay? I also know that it's easy for me to say what I'm about to say because I don't have this challenge in my house, and I can't honestly say how I would respond if I was in your same boat, okay? But you cannot be the person responsible for keeping your dad well. You can't. You can't check up on him every 30 minutes and make sure he's on his meds. You can't make sure that when he stops taking his meds that he doesn't have access to phones and stuff because he's going to go fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. You cannot make your dad be healthy and whole, and I'm so sorry. In a season when he is on meds, and it sounds like he levels out. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. When he levels out, there has to be some sort of conversation, which is, Dad, if you get off of your medication, you are making a choice to no longer be in my life and my sister's life. And I miss you and I want you in our life, and I hope that you will never make that choice. But when he's on his meds, he understands that his brain's not telling him the truth. Does he?
Not really.
Okay.
So
Okay. It just turns the volume of the alarms down a little bit.
So this is the thing that I get a little bit confused about.
Okay.
He was discharged from the military when he was 18, I think.
Okay.
And what they had told him was that he had multiple personality disorder or something like that. And then he got the diagnosis of schizophrenia.
Okay.
And the thing that I don't understand is normally, like you said, medication turns the volumes down. He actually likes being off of his meds. Like
Oh, dude, yes. I've never met a schizophrenic person. That's not true. Maybe one who enjoyed being on their medication because there's this impending sense that it's like being in a room full of crowded people with headphones on. You know they're talking, and they might be talking about me, but I'm wearing headphones because I can't take the volume. You get that, you know, that how that would just gnaw at you, you know? I know they're talking and I want to know what they're saying, but I do know this. If I listen to what they're saying, I go insane. I hurt myself and other people. And so my path forward is one of two choices. Being like sticking my head into the fire or choosing to not listen to what's going on in the world around me. And so the tension is there. I've met one person who was able to, preferred being in relationship than being on the inside of this radical information they had, right? But that's and I don't know I don't know enough about the neurophysiology of schizophrenia and the schizotypal disorders and all the different little nuances of that. My guess is their brain lesions were a little bit different, or their brain chemistry is a little bit different. No, it's a choice. It's a battle. It's a war, because you feel this impending sense of, dude, they're coming, and you are choosing not to look. That's what that feels like. And yet,
So what you're suggesting is that when he's off of his medication,
no,
he doesn't.
on. Oh, go ahead. I cut you off. Go ahead.
When he's off of his medication, he doesn't get the choice to be in relationship with my sister and I. But when he chooses to be on it, and that's the other thing is, if we've tried that before, where like if he's off of his medication, we're still talking to him, but we're not pushing him to go get evaluated. We're not pushing him to go to the hospital. And so, I mean, nobody is then. It just doesn't happen. And then, so this happened 2 weeks ago. He disappeared for 7 days.
Yep.
Left his phone, left his car, left everything, just gone. Dropped off the face of the planet. And I filed a missing persons report on him, and he showed up 7 days later. Said he was living in the woods. He enjoyed it out there, but he came back because he needed his phone.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you, it sounds like this is escalating?
Yeah.
At some point, you go sit down with the local care services or whatever. Go back to the hospital you had him admitted to originally, and ask about the procedure in your particular state for an involuntary committal. Because it sounds like he is fast on a path to not being able to take care of himself. And you have to recognize your limitations. You do not have the ability to deal with the level of psychosis your father has. Okay? And that's a powerless feeling.
We've gone through that 4 times this year.
Okay.
We've done this involuntary commitment.
Okay.
He just keeps cycling. And so how many times do you?
No, I would ask I would ask for, what does a court order look like to make this a permanent residency?
The hospital?
No. A long-term care treatment center for somebody with psychosis who is unable to care for themselves. And if he's a threat to himself or others, there's a possibility that you can get him committed long-term. And I would pursue that if I'm in your exact shoes. Because here's the deal. You can't solve this. You can't fix it.
Right.
And it sounds like if he's continuing to get off his meds and he's cycling more and more and faster, and now he's disappearing for 2 days, and now it turns into 7 days, and now it turns into, see what I'm saying? This is on a trajectory that is, I don't like. And you and your sister are gonna have to fight the impulse to blame yourself for the trajectory, because it's not your fault.
Right.
Your dad's not doing well. In fact, the greatest gift you could give your dad is for you to be whole. And when he's on his meds and he has a conversation with you, those rare conversations where everything's light, he can maybe make some jokes, he remembers the old days. You think to yourself, there he is. There's the real him. I can go get him. There. And unfortunately, that's not the whole real him, because the whole real him is very, very sick. And it's easy to live in a fantasy. And even when he's cycled off and you continue to talk to him and you continue to talk to him and you continue to talk to him, you're just heading down a bottomless pit with somebody. And I know it's your dad, and I know it's so hard. I know it's so hard, especially given the years of abuse you suffered. But the wise, mature thing here is to step back, take 10 paces back, and put your hands up and say, I don't have the expertise to heal my dad. I don't have the expertise or the financial wherewithal or even the ability to continue to prop my father up for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, however long this is going to go. And this is starting to cycle faster and faster and faster, and he's going to end up hurting himself or somebody else. So it's time for me to call in folks who could care for him long term. And let's go down that road and see what that's going to look like. I don't know what that looks like in Sioux Falls. My guess is they've got some significant resource opportunities there, but that's where I would go. And remember, it's not your fault. It's not your fault.